Are you hungry for some fantastic food and a great atmosphere? Then head over to the Hebron Grill. Distinctively Southern and soulfully unique, the Hebron Grill has something for everyone. It's the perfect spot for family dinners, a quick lunch, or catching up with friends. We want to send a huge thank you to the Hebron Grill for being a sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast and for their incredible support in helping us empower dads everywhere. So the next time you're looking for a great meal, remember the Hebron Grill. Find them online or stop by today. That's the Hebron Grill. Great food and great community. Welcome to Strong Dads. This is Merrill Hutchinson along with Andy Dalton. Hello, Andy.
Hey, good morning. How are you, Merrill?
Good. And we got a special guest here today, Mr. Justin Noppert. Justin, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing awesome.
We spent a little time together last night.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's good to be here with you guys.
Yeah. So we are just coming to you guys. Well, I'll talk a little bit about last night. Last night we had our Rock Solid Families kind of a thank you banquet, celebration and appreciation.
Yep.
And we've done shows already, so people kind of know that I'm fading out of that a little bit, just the rock solid work. And so my wife turns it into a surprise retirement party for me, and invites all these people and turns it into a tear fest for me all night long. I was like, thanks, honey.
She started it, but you got that's Carl. That was Carl too on that
so thanks, Carl Andrew. We're calling you out by name.
Oh, yeah.
So, but we had a great night last night. It was a celebration. And in particular, Carl, Carl was on our show he did a number of shows with us. Carl really pulled up all the men and kind of made it a Strong Dads, the fight.
Yeah,
he did the whole deal, and he called out the men. And so it's a little bit about what our show is going to be about today, just like, hey, we need you, right? We need you strong men out there. So anyway, Justin, thanks for joining us. You and I had already talked long before our deal last night that we were going to put together a show and talk about the state of affairs.
Yeah, I mean, it was a powerful time last night, just seeing that band of men in that circle around there and just seeing the fruit of investments that you've made over the years and just into men and seeing guys that are willing to rise up and take a stand.
Yeah.
And be strong dads and fight for their families, their wives, their sons and their daughters, their homes. And it was just an incredible display to see that and to, to be able to honor you in the process of you being kind of a foundation of that in our community was incredible.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And Carl, I'm in Bible studies with him and stuff, and multiple times we've watched Braveheart.
Yeah.
And so he had to pull up the scene where, Wallace is basically giving him the last hoorah.
Yep.
And I was so glad he got that to run, because at first the clip wasn't running. We were like,
Well, we were all wondering if we were going to have to pull up our kilts.
Right.
Zach had gotten, him and I were like, hey, you gotta run interference. So I was staring and making sure you didn't come in while we checked sound check prior to the event. It worked seamlessly. And then, of course, the technology works out. As soon as it's in the moment, Nothing. The sound wouldn't come on. And Carl's like, maybe we should have tried this ahead of time. And Zach and I looked at each other like, we did try it. It worked great. And the sound bar was turned off. And so that's issue. But they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
It was really good.
It was perfect.
And it stands up to the conversation that we're going to talk about today, right? About men. And we are called to fight, right? To protect and to provide. And so anyway, before we go into our conversation, let me thank our sponsors, and then we'll roll, okay? We want to thank guys just for the support. First off, we want to thank all of you. The support that we get at Rock Solid Families and the work that we do, I think people are recognizing more and more that family is so important. It's the nucleus of everything that we do. And when the family falls apart, Justin, you and I, before we even came today, we were talking about a kid of yours, and like, tell me his dad's story, right? And you can predict pretty much if a kid's off the rails, he has a not so good dad story. And so, But anyway, we want to thank our sponsors for continuing to support just the messaging that we're trying to put out there. We want to thank Quality Auto Mart, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and the Hebron Grill. So if you're doing any business with them, just thank them for supporting this kind of messaging and being part of our community in a positive way. So thanks to you guys. All right, so let's get rolling. Give me a little update, Justin, on what you're up to.
Yeah.
And we were talking about coaching and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, coaching's an incredible thing. And I know with Andy here, he had a lot of experience coaching. And we were talking a little bit beforehand. I think is a powerful opportunity that as men we should take very seriously. And we don't want to miss it. Because especially, at 81 kids on my track team, middle school track team last year.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about, man, I'm entrusted with 81 kids. What kind of impact can I make? And I think if we think just intentionally about that, and we check ourselves, check our egos, and check in, you got to win or you suck, kind of culture, because people don't realize, but you might suck because you had no discipline, you didn't do any work, but then kids can't translate that always into like, I don't just suck as a person,
Right.
So I think just building that culture of identity, how God sees us. I'm just fascinated with the fact that when Jesus started his ministry, when he was baptized, what's the first thing that happened? You hear the sound from heaven come down. This is my son whom I'm well pleased. Yeah. And for me, I'm like, did Jesus need that? Did God in the flesh, did he need that affirmation from his father that he was well pleased?
Yeah.
And I think that's just an example that we have that as men of carrying God's image.
Yeah.
And his identity in our lives, that we can pour that identity into, especially kids. This is cross-country season, so coaching's pretty high with things. We just came out of a father-son camp with Fight Father-Son camp, and having that same sense of the father heart of God, and then what kind of fathers are we? In Corinthians, it says that there's going to be a lot of teachers. There may be 10,000 teachers, but there's very few fathers. So what opportunity do we have as men to be fathers to some of these fatherless kids?
Yeah.
So it's just an open door that I've been given into young people's lives, and I take it very seriously that there's opportunity for lasting impact in our community by investing into these kids, boys and girls alike.
Yes. And then I think too, you can't see it in the moment of your season that you're coaching in for cross country or track or whatever it might be, but you're just like, I'm just trying to make sure that we have all the kids there. Do we have our uniforms? Or the buses on the schedule? We like this, and then you go back and you're like, the season's done. Did I even make an impact? Yeah. And then you get like 2 years later, and some kid like, oh, Coach Noppert, do you remember when? You're like, I didn't realize that made an thing. All right, thank you, Lord. That's something that's so simple you didn't even realize made such an impact on a kid at whatever season they're going through. You're like, I was just trying to get through the season successfully. Yeah. So that is such a big deal.
I think that's a great point, Andy. And just with my current situation of going on with this health issue with this cancer, I've had multiple people from 50 years ago, right? Like I'm 60, well, not 50 years, 40 some years ago, students of mine that have reached out. You never know how much you're connecting with a kiddo, right? Like you just don't know whether you had an influence, positive, negative, or whatever. And I'm getting text messages and emails. Hey, I got one the other day. I'm not sure if you remember me, but you were my swim coach, and I heard about your story. I just wanted you to know. I'm like, man. Yeah. How many times did I say stuff that I shouldn't have said, right? That kids remember, but how many, things that they do remember and that are positive. So you never recognize maybe exactly what button you're hitting with a kid that will last. And so I think we should just be more aware and conscious of, watch what comes out of your mouth. Yeah. Watch what kind of attitude you keep, that kind of thing. So that's good.
If you don't mind me asking too, like, I know you guys have probably talked about it. I don't know if we've talked about it on here before, but the fight, I know a little bit about it, but could you go into some detail? And I don't know if it's people who watch this know, but what is that? Yeah,
the fight's just a group of us guys. Started about 2019. It was right before COVID. I remember we started meeting together, and it was actually on Zoom. And we're like, this is, oh my goodness. Right. As you can imagine, the Zoom culture that we had for a while. So then we started opening up our barn, and we just leave the door open and just so we could socially distance. But it was just a group of guys who said, hey, there's something worth more fight for in our lives than just trying to get that raise at our job, or just getting another thing, or really just getting by. That it's really based on Nehemiah 4:14. When Nehemiah was rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. So it was like, what are these walls that are in rubble around us that we need to rebuild in our lives? And ultimately, it's building up the walls of character and integrity in our community, of men that are going to rise up and fight for good things in our community, to honor God with our lives, and the ultimate fight, what we found later on, as was evidenced last night, is that, we've kind of turned into this big mush of men sometimes.
Right, yeah.
And the fight of just surrendering our egos and our wills to God's, and allowing God to use us in whatever capacity He wants to use us. And that's really been the fight.
Yeah.
Our big motto is, if you're cruising, you're losing. So and I say, ask your wife, if you haven't checked in with her, if you're just putting on cruise control, how are things going?
Yeah.
You'll know real quickly that you're losing.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
yes.
just kind of keeping your foot on the gas and being intentional. Oftentimes it doesn't even require additional things to do, but just like we were talking about coaching, you may not have to add another practice. You might just be able to say something, encouraging and thoughtful, in these kids' lives. So it's being intentional with our lives, honoring God, and then it's a band of brothers that are also going to help you walk through life. If a lot of guys will come in broken, and you got guys that come around, you don't know how. Could never imagine as a man how powerful it is to realize that there's another guy that's got your back if you've never had that.
Yeah.
It is an incredible thing.
Especially if you didn't have a father that had your back.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you don't have a father, then you get this hardened up kid who is really, it's a big facade, right? Like I got to act tough or appear like I've got it together. But their foundation is just so shaky,
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I, when I saw with, it was confirmed when we've talked before, our older boys are Navy SEALs. And when I first started meeting those guys, all those SEALs, we'd go out to a training or a visit or whatever. And, all these guys are badasses, right? Like that's kind of how we think of them. And hanging out with them for a weekend, one of the things that I recognized with all of them, I mean, all that I encountered that were hanging around my sons, is they were emotional. They were spirited. They would cry. They would get into a fight. In other words, they did not keep their emotion in check and act like they were all together all the time. And so sometimes, they get out a little bit too far, but everything they did was just like, no, like this is so important to me. And that's where the fight comes from. Like, this is so important that I'll fight for it. Yeah. Versus, I'm just going to sit back here and hope I don't get called into the ring.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's just a big difference. We all have that desire to do the right thing, but we're afraid.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to drop the ball. So we put this plastic mask on, right? And so especially like, Justin, one of the things that I recognized when you started the fight, you were, I for lack of a better phrase, a lot of inner city guys, right? Like of our town. There were some rough dudes in there, and they were just tough, right? And right away, like we get these guys in circles or whatever and start talking, all of a sudden you start to hear their story. And whether there's tears coming out or whatever, like, oh man, every guy here has wounds.
Yeah.
Every guy's got wounds, So rather than covering them up, how can we get these wounds to heal well so that you can be ready to fight what you're going to need to fight? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, we're all broken, right?
Right.
When you start to and you start to recognize that in other people, and even just people that do just foolish things around you, it gives you a whole new perspective when you realize how broken people are. When like the person this morning that cut me off, and just thinking about, you just want to, tell them they're number one, but then you recognize that.
That's right. Yeah, I love you.
That's right. How just the brokenness that people have, and what we found in the fight, which was probably the most staggering thing that we recognized with men in the past two camps, was the loneliness. How we isolate ourselves, and then we isolate ourselves, and then we medicate ourselves, whether that be alcohol or overwork or busyness or, whatever that might be, we start to, because we're lonely. We were meant for community. We are meant for communion with our wives and with our families and with our brothers. So that loneliness, that was probably the thing that really caught us off guard, how lonely guys are. And to have, these guys that are just broken, they haven't had someone come along and say, hey man, I'm with you, brother, through this, through thick and thin. And, so some guys need that. They need that kind of, encouragement, that invitation into someone's life. But then other guys, there's like, hey dude, you got your head up your butt, and we need to deal with some things in your life because you're destroying your family. Look at your kids are watching you act this way, and you're making an impression on their lives. So I mean, so that's really what it's been. Is you're going to get some guys that are going to say, hey, I'll walk alongside of you, I'll encourage you, I'll cheer you on, I'll pray for you, and other guys saying, hey, let's go, there's some things that need to change. And you're going to get some strong encouragement and challenge as well.
I think that's one of the devil's biggest playgrounds is isolation. He gets us isolated, and then we have these thoughts running through our heads, the temptation from the enemy, and all these different things, and we have nobody to lean on when, like, dude, I'm struggling. I need you to pick me up on this and carry each other's burdens. And that is even like, and somebody told me this, I don't know how true this is, the beginning of time, we weren't known writers, right? Humans, we were storytellers, right? And in community, the way that we gave on traditions, or like, hey, how did you do this? Let me show you. Let me tell you, right? We didn't read and write a ton of books until I don't know how far along in our history. And if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me. But going back to what you're talking about with men joining other men, you're telling stories. Like, how many stories were told last night?
Oh gosh,
Right. And then the community factor within, I'm not only going to open up to somebody who, really far away, I'm going to open up with somebody who's close to me, who's literally in proximity to me. Like, I need help in this. Could you give me a hand? And so the isolation factor takes both those out. You can't tell stories when you're isolated, and you can't get help when you're isolated. So I think both of those are huge as men, integral part of our being.
Yeah. So, so the problem that we have seen over the last couple generations is we don't really know what a good model of a man is. So if I don't have a good dad to give me my model, right? So I start to create models. Well, what would it look like? And the problem that I see is most of the young men that I come in that are kind of off the rails, they've created a model where that either Hollywood has given them or commercials. The coolest athlete who's selling a lot of merch right now. And it's like, not that, I'm not blaming all of those people because they're just doing what they do. We have to be responsible for what we take in. But recognizing people grasp for something to target to, like, this is the kind of person I want to be. And if you don't have surrounding you a band of brothers, an incredible father, or whatever, you're going to go to whatever's looks like it works in a moment. Our youngest son, like, he's all about cool. He's all about cool. Like, and again, like, I remember that, right? Like, you're going to try to be cool, but you will jeopardize your character and trying to be cool if you don't know what your rules are. So let's just talk about that for a second. How do we start to get, I'll just say, biblical men, Christ-centered men out there? Like, what kind of message do we need to be putting out so that we can be more attractive, so that we can start to compete with what the culture is doing, right? So I know you mentioned before coaching, right? Like, how do we get out there and do this better, right? So any thoughts on that? Like, we work with men all the time. How can we, a counseling session is one thing, but that's 1 hour long. We need to be able to do a lot on a regular basis.
First thing I think of, I go back to last night. How many men were in the circle?
Gosh, I don't know.
50 or 60, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay, something on a time frame. And most of them have probably, I don't want to say one, but there's probably going to be like one or two nucleus of people, right? You were the strong factor there last night, right? But your group, you, Carl, Greg, or whoever was a part of a nucleus, had an effect on at least 60 of those men, right? So take all 60 of them, replicate that. If all of them had the intentionality you did, and I'm not saying this because I think super highly of you, but you're just a man, right? Are you a super special, no. Superpower man that I don't know?
They only knew. I was waiting for my brothers to stand up last night and go, "You don't even know the stuff that he used to do." Because there's truth to that, right? And I think to that point, I think many of us men don't. We know our flaws. I know my flaws. I know I cuss, I drink, I smoke, right? I know my history and all that stuff. So sometimes I give that way too much credibility. Yeah, I'm not a good man because this is in my past.
Yeah.
When, that's what Satan wants me to believe.
Yeah. Yes.
He wants to keep me down going, you're not worthy. You're not worthy.
Yeah. Or the flip side of it, I can't do what Merrill did. He's way too good. I'm never going to do what Merrill did. Yeah. I'm not going to get in the fight because I don't have what Merrill has. And that's the exact other ditch. Go back to where it's 60 men, if they just were intentional with the relationships that they had in their lives, and then they eventually got to the point of an age where then they're retiring, if they had 60 different, because, all right, buying product, there's two things you're going to do to buy product. You're going to Google reviews of it, or you're going to ask your friends.
Right.
Hey, what kind of bike did you buy when you were doing it? Right. And
that's a good conversation there.
Yeah. We're going to have that after this. But you talk to your friends and you're like, hey, how was that dinner? Where'd you go last night?
Yeah.
And so I think that is a part of what we can do to fix that issue is you're right. I don't know if we're going to be able to compete biblically with, some of the mainstream media things that people see on social media. But talking in relationship with friends, if that intentionality was there, I think that is a way to compete.
Yeah.
But
I think it's always be looking for another guy, looking for other families that you can invite in. I think we miss out on that. We kind of get on our high horses sometimes. We kind of feel like sometimes we've arrived, and just being vulnerable and real and recognizing just that, there's other people that God's called us to. Yeah, we need to lead our families well, but use that opportunity around us. I mean, we had, there's 60 guys. You multiply that by the other men that have been impacted through Strong Dads and through Rock Solid, through the fight. If you multiply those, you change communities.
Yeah.
Through that. And I think practical ways to do that is understanding. We talk about this a lot. It's not just about following the rules. Because the first thing that guys often think when they're talking anything Christian is like, oh crap, man, I'm so bad. The shame. Right. They live in that brokenness, and we are all broken. But we broke that with sin when it entered the world.
Yeah.
But we got to remember, before there was sin, when God created man, he created creation and said it was good. When he created man, he said, it's very good.
Yeah.
And so when we recognize there's actually reconciliation to how God created us through Christ, and to have that and to realize we're still a work in progress, but even more than that God invites us into his story. Because that's what the whole, I think one of the biggest problems with Christianity and many and all of us together is we think the world revolves around us. This is our story.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like we're in a finite part of time.
Yeah.
Very finite when you're talking about eternity, a grain of sand, right?
Yeah.
So to recognize that we're in a bigger story than just our story. It's not all about us and our family, what makes us feel good, but we're part of God's story. And he calls us, invites us into that story to bring that reconciliation. Man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, that's really, when I read that, I just gloss right over, right? Yeah. Like God first. What does that really mean? Right? What does it really mean? And listen, that's my ongoing learning, right? Because I always come first. When I wake up in the morning, I think about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to eat, how I'm going to dress. Right. And so my nature is to always protect and take care of me first. That's my nature. But when I stop thinking about other people, when I stop thinking about serving God and why I need to do that, I lose track. Right. And before you know it, my whole day, well, did I have a good day? Well, based on whether I got what I wanted or not.
Yeah.
And you can fall into that. So the idea in relationship, we talk about God first, spouse second, family third, right? Well, what does that really mean? That means you understanding, well, what does God really want out of you every day? First, he wants your heart. He wants you to say, I'm your number one. I'm your number one. You serve me first. That's a foreign idea, because if I don't know God, I'm going to serve me first. You know, so and then once you do that, then you start to recognize how you'll serve your family, and why you teach your kids what you teach them. Right? The idea that we have kids who think the world revolves around them. How did that come about?
We showed them.
Yeah, we showed them, because I did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Satan wants them to believe. So part of our deal here is recognizing how I start early as a dad to become a servant, but then to teach my kids about being a servant. And you're serving God first. And you do that through serving others. And that's hard. Because I'm selfish.
Well, and I think there's so much shame, that we haven't done it. We haven't done enough, and that's something that we have to allow God to heal in our hearts. Is that it's not about more you can do. It's not about works. There's nothing we can do,
right?
But through Christ that we can be reconciled. But then we can walk through, and we are ministers of reconciliation to those around us. And we get so caught up in ourselves. And if we could just kind of look through a different lens, in our lives every day when we wake up, and just recognize, what, I'm still going to fail, but I need to be vulnerable enough to say, I screwed up. Be vulnerable enough to go to your wife and say, man, I was an ass, and those kind of things. And if Natalie watches, she's like, he never does that. That's what he's talking about. But, but to be able to, even when you get in a fight with your spouse, to help to have your kids see how you reconcile that. These are ways that you can, I think, as men, and just continue to grow.
Yeah. I think that's so smart of what you said too about having an outlook of looking for other people. I mean, if you look in what Jesus did, how often was he surrounded by hundreds of people? And he always seemed to be like, right there. She touched the hem of my cloak. Who was it? Like, you've got hundreds of people trying to touch you. Even the disciples like, what do you mean, Jesus? We're around hundreds of people. Well, no. Hold on. I need to speak to her right now. She is my intention. With all of the distractions around us, having that, all right, Lord, give me fresh eyes. Who is it that I need to? Because if we don't have some sort of impact, what happens is broken hangs around broken, right? And so they're just going to keep the same cycle. They're going to go create broken if they have children, because they were raised in brokenness, and that brokenness just feeds the same cycle until something is shoved enough out of that, oh no, there's a different way. There is a better way. And I only know this because of the people I've been around who've shown me. So how can I do the same? Just as Jesus did around all those people. He had that, no, you are the one I'm going to focus in on.
Is your car making a strange noise? Or maybe your golf cart needs a tune-up? Then you need to head to Quality Auto Mart. Quality Auto Mart isn't just about great auto repair and muffler service for your car. They're also your go-to experts for golf cart sales and repair. And we want to give a huge thank you to Quality Auto Mart for being a dedicated sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast. Their support helps us empower dads in our community and beyond. For all your car repair needs, muffler service, or anything golf cart related, trust the team at Quality Auto Mart. Visit them today and tell them the Strong Dads podcast sent you. That's Quality Auto Mart, located on Route 46 outside Batesville, Indiana. Call them at 812-934-2301. Yeah. So we're talking about now, like, the idea of first off recognizing that we don't have it together, right? Surrendering that, but then the idea of becoming coachable. So the hardened kid, the hardened man, tough to coach. Right. And so we look at that oftentimes is that from within that guy's head, he's actually tough. He's strong-willed, he's stubborn, and there's good attributes there, right? They can be. Especially if you're stubborn towards Christ, no, I'm going to fight for Christ no matter what. But the other way is, it's all about me. So the idea that I become coachable. So Justin, you're a coach, right? And you've had we talked before, like there's some kids that you've had like were street tough or whatever. what's the way into a guy's heart to make, whether he's a 12-year-old or he's a 20-year-old, to get him to be more coachable, right? I think yelling and screaming, some guys will respond to that.
That's right. Yeah.
But then there's the Tony Dungy coaches of the world who, like, does he ever talk?
Yeah.
You know, what works?
I think inviting them in, and I mean, I have to check myself because I get caught up in it too. Because I want to, let's go, let's kick some butt, you know, and we're going to work really hard, and we work hard. But recognizing that there are kids in there, and even raising my two boys, you know, they're so different.
Yeah.
You know, one of them responds to one way of coaching, the other one responds, you know, to another way. So trying to learn how to motivate them, and then when you multiply that by dozens and dozens of kids, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
But what you find is, you know, something often that you do works for multiple of them, so you can multiply that. But I think the invitation into just getting to know them, sometimes it's just, how you doing, you know? How's school going this week, and just kind of getting their mind off of, like, you're the hard coach that just wants us to, you know, do another rep, you know, just inviting them into that conversation. Some of these kids have never had that, someone to genuinely ask, how you doing?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's powerful.
Yeah. I think the secret ingredient to that too is time. You know, what's that phrase? They don't know, care how much you know to know how much you care.
Yeah.
Well, how much do you build caring in is you're there for them over time.
Yeah.
Right. And some of these kids who have that hardness is because they've been left alone, or they've been abandoned in some capacity. But if, like, and that's the thing, like, I've had really good talks with people. I've motivated them. I've said the right things. But if I'm not there for a long duration of time to build up that relationship, man, I got nothing. Yeah. So I think time's the secret ingredient too.
Yeah, I look at it as, you know, as a teacher, early on, and Andy, you probably have come to this too, like, I learned early on, I did not teach subjects like biology and anatomy. I taught people. Yeah. And so most people don't care about how much anatomy I knew, right? And that's what we get into sometimes as coaches. Here's the right way to do it. Here's how I became a champion. Just do it my way. Yeah. Well, you're teaching subjects, right? Like, here's how you get the win. And what you have to do if you're going to be a coach, a father, a teacher, is you have to say, well, I know how I won. I know what worked for me. But I have to jump into that kid's head, that man's head, and go, how does he operate? Is he more this way or that way? And then if I'm going to truly call myself a coach or teacher, I have to morph to fit where I catch him where he's at, not where I want him to be. Because none of us are there, right? So I have to go to where he's at, and that's called building relationship. If you don't build a relationship, you got nothing. You got no clout with that guy. And, you know, early on, you know, when I first started coaching, my very first coaching job was girls swimming. Okay. I was an assistant coach, girls swimming, and I was all about the win. And I mean, I had those girls in tears all the time because I was just like, you know, do another set, do another rep, you know, and, the girls basically revolted. They were like, "We don't like
listening to you."
You know? And the other coach, the head coach, he could get by with some pretty hardcore stuff, but I had no clout with them. No. And so I mean, it was a few weeks into that season, I was like, this coaching stuff, especially girls, you know, the emotions, and I realized I was totally off base. I was teaching swimming, I was not teaching the girls. And that is so, like, to your point, you have two different boys. You got to go, how do I need to reach each boy? Which is hard to do because in the middle, I've got my own personality. And I know what worked for me and what didn't. No, that's still about me. You know, so does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a tough one to
it is. I mean, for us, it's the higher the risk, the more you want to go after, right? And, you know, and it's just, that's not how my sons are wired, you know. And it's oftentimes it goes the opposite direction. Yeah. So trying to learn that even as a bullheaded, you know, 50-year-old adult is challenging, you know. Yes. But I think it's learning. It's continually learning and being just that intent. That's taking that extra time to invest and take it seriously. There's just opportunity all around us. Yeah. You know, sometimes we're like, well, what can I do? What can I do for God's kingdom? What can I do? And it's like, oftentimes it's not additional, it's just intentional.
Yeah.
Because there's all these things around us. We just need to open our eyes.
Yeah, that's huge, because people think, I don't have any extra time. I don't have any more bandwidth. I'm like, you don't have to add anything else on the same thing you're doing. Just be a little more intentional. Yeah. I think, too, along with what you're saying as well, and I think this goes together, not each one of us are going to be able to reach every kid. Like, there are people that I just won't be able to reach. I know this. I can't. It's just my personality. I am who I am, and I'm going to use the giftings God gave me. But there are just some people that it's like oil and water, man. But that person might gravitate towards you, and which is why a community is so important. Yeah. We need multiple of us doing this, so that way I don't want to ruin somebody's idea of what Jesus could be because they didn't fit with me. But, man, if they grasped to you, Justin, and then they understood, like, how cool would that be? And it's, again, talk about that pride issue. Like, did I fail? Did I do something wrong? Like, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with you.
Recognizing when you're the lid, you're the cap on the situation from it improving. Yeah. And I think as a dad, you will recognize that you're the kid's hero at a certain age, and then you become stupid dad, right? You become stupid dad, because your kids have heard your mantra, right? I've heard this all my life. And I would say our older son, he was always fairly coachable with us. But all the other boys in our family, I lost the ability to coach them. In other words, they took that away from me because probably they recognized some of my own hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dad, you say that, but we know how you really are, right? And so and when I recognized that, man, they're no longer listening, it was, okay, I need to see if I can hand off. Mm-hmm. And Carl and other guys, Zach and those other guys were there, and it was just like, hey, I'm struggling with, this son or whatever. Anybody wants to pour into him. They might say the exact same things. Yeah, yes. The exact same things, but it's coming from a different tone. And it's like, man, my pride, I had to just surrender that. Yeah. So.
But I mean, just look how critical it was that you had those men around you, and if you wouldn't have positioned yourself to have other men that you were in community with, you had some accountability too as well. I mean, that's the power. That's the secret sauce is, we're not in this alone. We can't go it alone.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I just talked to somebody about that at Strong Dads on Saturday, about that, talking about the exact same thing that your dad might say, but it might be from somebody else who cooler, whatever the case is.
Right.
And I just never understood that. My first year teaching, I was listening to this woman was talking to Derek in their classroom. I was just kind of sitting in, trying to get my bearings. And she's a Division I college volleyball player. Her husband, Division I college basketball player. And she was asking Derek about, anybody for basketball for my son? And I looked at her, I was like, can't your husband do it? Like, innocently, I just had no clue. She's like, oh, my husband could do it. Andy, I could have you stand there, have my husband behind you, tell you what to say, and it might make more of an impact on my son just because it's not my father. Like, I was like, what? I just blew my mind. But it's so true. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And to recognize that and to surrender that as a dad will also then, so one of the beauties that I'm ahead of you guys on, is when they do finally leave your home, that they do cherish and come back and they'll ask you for advice. Mm-hmm. Like, that just blows my mind when either any of my boys call me up and say, hey, Dad, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
You're asking for my opinion? Like, is it valuable? But that's the thing that makes you go, wow, okay, so I do have some clout there. They're not turning me away. So that's a cool thing. Yeah. And
I think that's just a testament to the foundation that was established. And we talked about it a little bit last night at the celebration. Your retirement. That's just the foundation that we build ourselves on. If we build ourselves on that strong rock, the rock of Christ, the rock of the values that we represent, they're going to be able to weather those storms, because they're going to come. And that's a crazy thing, is that you see that with things that are going on in our country right now, how thin of a foundation that people are standing on. And when you try to build a building on a tiny little 1-inch square,
The
foundation
is,
footing, and you try to build, it's going to tumble as soon as something comes along. And that's what we saw with the whole Charlie Kirk, with the emotion that invoked in our community. That's what we see every day when, you see a kid strike out. I remember coaching girls softball and just seeing the despair.
Right.
After striking out, it's like you're going to be okay. We're going to keep working, and we're going to go after it again. But you see that, so you see that with these kids, just the thin margins that we have in our lives, and so we have to be really intentional about building that foundation. What is the firm foundation that we stand on? And the values that we're going to build our families on, are the culture that we create around the sports that we coach, the communities that we lead, the communities we're part of, because that's ultimately where we'll stand. Rains are going to come, winds are going to blow, right? And so, and you're living that. Yeah. You're living proof right now.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about there with the idea of, part of, I think what we do have to be intentional about is dads, is we do have to set the sail straight, put the rudder in the water for the direction the home's going to go. Mm-hmm. And so, we are very intentional in our house about letting our kids know what the values of our family are. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, does that mean we hit them right every time? No, but generally speaking, we value, blah, 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 all the way through. And if you're not intentional about that, how your values will be set? Whatever comes into your house from day to day, right? Yeah. The latest commercial, the latest song. And so if your kids don't see you say, in our home, this is what we do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then to do that with integrity, right? Yeah. So they know, man, especially your teenage kids know your hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you are going to be a hypocrite.
Oh, yeah.
So just get over yourself, right?
And they'll call you on it.
I know. Yeah. Well, yeah, but you don't, right?
Yeah.
And so the other part that I've kind of recognized that's important is to be able to admit and apologize to your kid quickly when you are off the rail a bit, versus, well, you mind your business and all my mine, or you don't tell me what to do. I'm the dad. Well, that sounds like a good, strong statement, but you just lost credibility on your own willingness. Dad, you want me to be coachable and you won't even listen to me? Yeah. So I think it's just really important that you first establish the sails, what direction are we going to go? But when we're off course, you can look at your kid and say, man, I had that one wrong.
Yeah.
When you can do that, and then when you go to call your kid out, when they're off course, you can say, listen, dude, I've been off course too before.
Yeah.
I know where you're at, okay? I think you have so much better chance to reach them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And we're all going to mess it up. You speaking, I just had flashback images like, oh, messed that one up. Oh, but didn't do it that time. And there'll be another time. And to say that with your kids too, like, oh, you struck out. It's okay. There's another attempt.
Yeah.
There's another.
It's not too late.
Step back into the batter's box.
Yeah.
Step back up to the plate. Get back in the fight. I messed up before. Thank you for calling me out on it, even if it comes from, my 8-year-old daughter or whatever the case is. And to be okay with that. Like, yeah, you're right. I didn't. We messed up. I'm sorry. It's as hard as that pill of, back to the beginning of our conversation, pride. All kind of comes back to that. In order to be intentional, you got to drop your pride.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Is there anything that you guys want to make sure that we get put out on the airwaves? Any words, any thoughts?
Justin?
We've covered a lot of great topics today. That foundation that we have, and it's just that we can be in the world but not of the world.
Yeah.
That we teach our children this, the way that we believe that Christ shows us in the Word, and there's a lot of influences out there. Mm-hmm. So coming back to being part of that, and we're big advocates for public schools. Because there are conversations that we have with our kids that we would not have if they weren't in the public school system.
Right.
But we're able to have those open conversations and keep those channels open, because the challenges these days they continue to get harder and harder.
Yeah.
Even from when we were there, with technology and the information age, and just it's a lot of stress. And I just see so many kids that are riddled with anxiety. And it's just like, just have fun, just enjoy yourself, it's, you don't have to find your identity in how other people see you.
Yeah.
When they start to see our identity as like I'm your father, especially your children, in that if they know that you love them no matter what, you know, and that you're affirming the identity that they have in Christ and in God, how he created them.
Yeah.
And, you know, when they screw up, you know, let's redirect. We'll pivot, but you know, let's go together. And, you know, I've screwed up, and being able to be vulnerable with that and saying, I don't have it right all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and I you know, don't talk to your mom the way that I should sometimes. You know, I don't, you know, respond the way that I should. And to be real and vulnerable and just humble. I mean, that's the key is to be, you know, the greater level of, I say this all the time, the greater level of influence and power that you have, you better have equal or greater measure of humility and surrender.
Yeah.
Or you're going to fall.
Yeah.
You're going to fall hard, you know?
Yeah, I love that. That's the part that allows us to know our hierarchy of importance of, is it am I God? Right? Like if it stops at me, I got issues, right? So like, no, I'm not there either. I've struggled too. So you know, I think that's really important for us to point out. And you know, if you make a mistake, just like your kids are going to do, forgive yourself, get out of your own way, but then own it and try to make it right. You know, I think that's important for us to do as men.
And don't go it alone. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing for guys. Get in some community because you know, we need that. Confess, you know, it says confess your sins one to another. Confess to your brother. Say, man, I'm struggling with this. You know, how do you do this with your house? We talk about that all the time, the guys in the fight, and it's hard, you know, because it's just communicating with that alien life form that we call our wives, you know,
right.
It speaks a different language, and you know, just everything else.
You don't get it.
Yeah, Natalie, he said that, not us. So.
You know,
I can't wait to see what Justin gets for dinner tonight.
Oh, yeah. Hot dogs, everybody else gets steak.
So that's why it's so important that iron sharpens iron. You know, so one man sharpens another. That we need those other guys to for their encouragement, for wisdom, to check us, you know, for the accountability, and you know.
That's what I was going to finish with. And there's two ways to that. Like, one, each of you guys have different men groups that you meet with. The Fight, Strong Dads, and I've got a group of men that we meet with. And how did that start? What you guys started it? Like, I just reached out, like, hey guys, you want to get together? All right, how did the Fight start?
Yeah, it's similar. Guys are hungry for that community, so
you just like, hey guys, want to get together?
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, you want to meet together and work out?
Yeah, I mean, Strong Dads was at multiple groups over the years. Was just like guys needing a place to feel safe.
Yeah.
Where they could come in and say, man, I'm just screwing up, you know, because if I don't have a place to feel safe, I will continue to put the mask on.
Yes.
Right. I'll just go through my day to day, keep my head down. And so I have to have a place that I feel like guys are not going to go, you idiot, you know. So you got to feel safe.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I don't know, like I would strongly suggest you get involved in a church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those guys are thinking the same way you are. They just haven't said it yet.
Yes.
You know, and all of a sudden you get in join a small group or whatever. And I've been in small groups that just like, well, that one doesn't have much energy to it. Don't give up on it.
Yeah.
You know, iron sharpens iron. Get with these guys that push you and you can be real with. So I think it's important.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't have a group, either create one or reach out. I remember I called up a buddy and I was like, I need something. And so, like, you know, one of the two ways for all the men who are watching this, if you don't have that group, reach out to somebody or, you know, start one your own of other men and just get into the word and then start seeing where the Lord's going to take that.
Yeah.
I think you're right in community.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a difference between a small, like I'll say a learning group where you almost, we're going to learn about a topic and you tend to have a teacher there.
Yeah.
And which is good. Like that has its place. But what I have found with the groups that I really like have an attraction to for the long haul are sometimes we don't even know who's leading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because if you have the same dominant personality comes in and, okay, guys, here's what we're doing, they become like the dominant teacher and everybody's like waiting on their word.
That's
but
good.
the groups
That's
that I
good.
have found to be really effective are, you know, I could pop in there. You might have a designated leader who says, hey, I'll open with prayer or whatever. But after that, the conversation is popcorning all over the place because people feel that comfortable.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and then when a guy can come in, he's new and he contributes and it's valued. I mean, it helps.
Yeah.
It helps the cause.
That's good.
yeah. All right, Andy, you got anything?
No, I'm good. Justin, thank you for joining us and bringing your
hanging
insight.
out with you guys.
I appreciate it,
guys. So the fight. You guys are based out of Lawrenceburg, but you cover pretty much southeast Indiana.
Yeah, Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati. These guys come down. So
and
all over.
So have you established the fight camp week date yet?
It's likely going to be the last weekend in February.
You always, I mean, guys, like it's going to be like 10 below, right? What was it last year? It was
got
cold.
down to about 13 that night.
It was cold.
We cut a couple inches of ice out of the lake. You know.
Had to break the ice to baptize people the next day. It was like, this is
talking about a cold plunge there.
It was legit. That's
cold.
A fact. But we have the camp that's once a year, usually late February. We have father-son camp that was just this past weekend. That was incredible time. The guys investing into their sons. We have our fight rhythms that we do second Saturday and third Friday of every month down in Lawrenceburg.
Yeah, can you give the address to that?
Yeah, 302 Walker Avenue. You can get on the fight on Facebook page or thefight414.com.
Yeah,
keeps up with our stuff, and then we get together. We do a Bible study on Wednesday mornings as well in the same place.
Okay,
every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So
if you're down in the Lawrenceburg area or Cincinnati area or whatever, and you're looking to get connected, you can check out the fight. We do the Strong Dads, which Strong Dads is one. We do the podcast here. Yep. And by the way, we are not in competition. Our competition is Satan.
Yeah.
And so we join forces on messaging and whatever. And so it's like, listen, if you go to Justin's stuff, go to Strong Dad's stuff, like whatever. Yeah. But we do our Strong Dad's class on Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. to usually 9:30, but sometimes it runs a little longer. But we do a 45-minute workout and a 45-minute study. Yep. And this past year, we have been doing a once-a-month challenge, which has been really fun because now a little ego comes in, and you get guys popping up and sore shoulders the next day. But it's good stuff. Good stuff.
I was going to say, you're probably feeling warm yesterday.
All right. Guys, what we would like to do is just challenge you. We'd like to challenge you to step up, stop beating yourself up as to whether you can be the right husband, the right dad. Just step up, be present. Forgive yourself, but strive towards something greater. And you do that by saying, well, what is greater? Christ is the image bearer of what greater is, right? And so the humility of him learning and teaching is what we're trying to incorporate in our own home. So we just challenge you to be not just facade of acting a part, but actually get in there and get dirty and be part of your kid's life. So, and your wife, the husband that she needs. So we're just keeping the challenge up there. You guys good?
Yeah, excellent.
All right. So guys, go out there and be a strong dad. Justin, thanks for hanging out with us.
Pleasure being with you guys.
All right.
Yeah.
Say yeah.
Yeah.
Are you dreaming of a stunning landscape or a refreshed living space? Look no further than Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Gift Shop. Located just outside of Bright, Indiana, Casey's specializes in transforming the outside of your home with expert landscaping services. They'll also help you beautify the inside with unique finds from their amazing gift shop. We want to send a huge thank you to Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Gift Shop for being a fantastic sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast. Their support helps us continue to uplift and inspire dads in our community. For all your landscaping dreams and eye-catching home accents, visit Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Gift Shop. That's Casey's, making your home beautiful inside and out.